Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Post-Raw number 138, I think it is. Yes, indeed it is. Post-Raw number 138. I am Mike Tedesco. Welcome to the show. We are going to be talking about tonight's episode of Raw, which was, well, it was definitely something. And we're also going to be talking about the WWE Draft, the full results of the 2021 WWE Draft in all its glory. I might. Last week I was here. I was in a different mood last week. Last week I had just witnessed the best episode of Raw of the entire year. I had just seen a really excellent main event with Big E and Bobby Lashley in a steel cage match. And just everything seemed to make sense last week. Everything seemed to flow. Everything had a purpose to it. Things were given time to actually build into good matches and things like that. And then we fell off a cliff tonight because we had to have the WWE Draft. Every year, the draft special is brutal to watch. It's at least it's moving for me. It reminds me of the Slammy Awards. Like it started off like it was like a cute idea, and then it just became like, oh, this is the thing that we do, and well, because the thing that we do, we don't really have to put much effort into it because it sells itself, right? Well, I'm done on the WWE Draft. I've had my fill of it, and I've had my fill of the brand split in general. It's like, I'm going to go over the whole entire roster tonight, and we're gonna talk about it. I thought it'd be a good idea. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to actually look at the results of the 2020 WWE Draft from last year and see how well they did with that, and then try to prognosticate where everybody's going to go this year from the 2021 WWE Draft. It's going to be really weird. It's like I was going over some of the picks of the 2020 draft. I couldn't believe some of the names that were on there, and they did nothing with them. It's incredible. Anyway, again, I'm Mike Tedesco. I'm here by myself tonight. Victoria is, no one. I don't know anybody in my life that works harder than my wife. And the last couple nights, Liliana's just been a bear. She was up all through the night last night, and she was up at 6 a.m. and that was it. And Liliana never went back to bed again. So Victoria was just super tired, and she wanted to wake up for the show, but I just said, you know what, like, just sleep. Sometimes you just need a sleep, and this show, yes, it's the brand, it's the draft show and all that stuff. Yeah, is it a big deal? I guess to some people it is, but this really, like, nothing feels like incredibly special anymore. In fact, it's like, like last week, I kind of knew that, last week was going to be like an anomaly where it was just like, okay, we had this like really good show because they hot shotted a whole bunch of stuff, but like, this draft felt cheap. It just felt like, again, like a thing that they do. This is just, we have a draft this time of the year, and then like everything was building toward Crown Jewel, a show that not many people are going to watch live, so spoilers will be out there. So, and most of the time, every single show almost every single show that's taking place in Saudi Arabia. No, I'm going to go out and say, actually, every single show that's taken place in Saudi Arabia has been awful. That's being nice. Really, like the last one they had before the pandemic was like one that was kind of halfway decent, but God, like those shows mostly suck. Like really, like they're mostly horrible. So people hear the results. Sometimes they'll tune. We get big traffic on Wrestleview because people just check in while they're at work during the day, that's a great thing for us. But a lot of people will see that the show is bad and then they won't watch it, or it'll be like, I'm going to watch it because I want to see just how freaking bad it is, which is not really a great reason to, or not really like the best motivation to get your crowd to want to see, what it is. But it just feels cheap that every single big match is building towards this show that's going to take place at 1 p.m. here in the States. Not that the United States is everything. This is not a nationalist thing. It's just, when you have a show that's taking place in a country as corrupt as Saudi Arabia. And again, I will preface what I'm going to say right now. It has nothing to do with the people. It has nothing to do with the Saudi citizens. It's not their fault that their government harbored 9/11 terrorists and killed an American journalist and chopped him up with a bone saw and dissolved his body in acid in 2018. And they got away with it because they have oil. And they do a lot of crappy things all the time. And we just turn the other cheek because we love oil in this country. No, I'm obviously not a nationalist in that sense. It's not the people's fault that they have a horrible government and there's literally nothing they can do. And they try to, we're going to bring in the WWE and we're going to bring in UFC and we're going to bring in, we're going to let we're going to let the women drive. We're going to let the women drive. Aren't we progressive? It's like, yeah, awesome. Like WWE is just, it's cheap because WWE is letting them have their political propaganda PR stunt on their show, just for to make money. And I seem to remember in November or late October, early November, October 31st to November 1st, the WWE roster being held hostage on a runway, and that was true. That's like a real thing. They were held hostage over money. That, by the way, I think WWE might still be waiting for some payments from Saudi. I don't know if they got the full payments. So there's that. So yeah. Everything just felt cheap. Let's talk about the show. Let me say hi to everybody in the chat room real quick. So we got my dear friend Nafis Adat is here tonight. All right, Nafis. We got King of Huecamundo here. All right. What is with WWE? This is why AEW is already the top wrestling company. Well, I mean, in terms of a wrestling product, they absolutely put out the best wrestling product in terms of merchandising and licensing deals and just being able to make money and bleed money from people that have almost none at this point because they give them so much money. WWE still number one in that case. Andrew Elder's here, the Wrestleview Fiend. This is Andrew's month. Halloween's coming up. This is my guy. I'm here, and I saw some more draft picks on Raw Talk. Randy Torcola. Yes, I'm going to be going over those as well. We got Daniel Shell here. We got Sweet Lou. Louis Veraldi is here. We got Quentin Walters, our number one fan, is here in the house. We got Mashoon Walls. We got Grash here. We got Rocky Bisht here. And if I missed anybody, I will get to Corey Howell's here. I saw that. I'm scrolling up. Okay, I don't want to scroll too far because then I'm going to miss some stuff. But anyway, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. Or joining me tonight, indeed. So let's just go over what happened on this show. Let me see if I can just refresh this page, see if there's any updates from Raw Talk. No. So I'm going to have to go on to Twitter to get those Raw Talk picks there. I'm not really 1,000% sure where to find those. Actually, you know what, Randy? Why don't you give us the Raw Talk picks? Let's see. Round four. Nope. And of course, you go to WWE.com. There's no updates. This is incredible. It's really incredible. Seriously, like WWE's website is awful anymore. I mean, yes, I know they laid off a lot of people during the pandemic, but they never brought them back. I thought it was just a layoff for a little bit, and then it's bring them. No, and the website's been horrible ever since. Slow updates. It's you can't get any results for hours. So Liv Morgan is coming to Raw. According to Andrew Elder. So these picks are slowly trickling out. I think I know where to look. Liv Morgan and The Miz go to Raw. Multiple teams split. Let's see this. All right, let's see. All right, so Liv Morgan, Tegan Knox, Mia Yim, Mia Yim. Wow, what a name. Haven't heard that name in a while. Tamina. Oh, God, Tamina is such an awful professional wrestler. The Hurt Business. That makes sense. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. The Miz, who's on Dancing with the Stars. Dana Brooke. Jackson Riker. Ugh. The Dirty Dogs, which I saw coming a million miles away. And Veer are on Raw. And so far, SmackDown has selected Shotzi. So, I mean, did Shotzi and Tegan Knox ever get that tag title shot? I don't even remember. It like God, it's like why? Natalya. So literally the only thing that was keeping Tamina's career alive was teaming with Natalya, and now they've broken that up. Jinder Mahal has been broken away from Veer, and Shanky is also going to SmackDown. So we have to go through the roster and see who is left, but those are the Raw Talk picks. So again, Raw gets 10 people. SmackDown so far has 4. Am I reading that right? Is everybody in agreement with that? It's crazy. Like Shotzi and okay, whatever. Okay, Roxy and Tegan Knox broke up. Cool. It's like okay, whatever. I mean, like that was a great idea. That really made a lot of sense. All right, let's go over the full WWE draft, the real stuff. So night 2 picks that were made on Raw tonight. The cringiest pick of all was the very first pick that happened. Becky Lynch comes out, and I mean, look, last time I tuned into SmackDown, Becky Lynch was a heel, right? I mean, like she came back to a huge reception at SummerSlam, and so it's like, oh yes, let's make her a heel because that worked so well when we did it with Stone Cold Steve Austin. They tried to make her a heel, it didn't take, but as they try to make her a heel, you're going to actually upset some of those fans that like her, and now and you're just going to confuse others, and now nobody knows how to react to her. So she comes out and she's a face at the top of the hour. At the very start of this show, she's a face, and she's, saying Nashville and trying to get people going here, and they're just like, I mean, Nashville was what? I'm sorry if you went to the crowd, if you were in the crowd in Nashville tonight, the crowd sucked. I mean, look, I get it. This show sucked, but I mean, from the word go, they weren't there for anything. I mean. I mean, Becky Lynch. Yes, I just went through this whole thing about how nobody knows how to react to her because she's supposed to be a heel, I guess, or she was booked as a heel, but now because it's the draft, everybody just resets to stasis, which I guess is no character whatsoever. Nobody has any allegiance in whether they're heel or face. But she comes out, she's building up Nashville. They're not really there for it. She talks about wanting to be Becky 2 belts, and a very, very light Becky 2 belts chant starts up, and it just got cringier and cringier from there. And she goes, oh, I'm going to jump the gun and tell you the first pick. I know the network executives aren't going to like that, but I do what I want. And of course it's like, this is so fake. It just feels so fake. It feels horrible. And she goes, I'm going to tell you the first pick for Monday Night Raw. And she pauses, expecting this crowd that's been dead so far to chant her name. And they lightly chant her name. And she's standing there smiling and acting like it's a huge chant. Because I'm sure when they put the replay up on Peacock later on, they're going to just pump in big cheers. But it was so pathetic. That's how they announced the first pick. That, in a nutshell, is everything that's wrong with these scripted promos and how you have to stay on script. Never, ever, ever get off script. We wrote this thing and guess what, Becky? We finalized it 5 minutes before you're going out there. So it's sacred now. You cannot think on your feet whatsoever. The crowd was dead. A professional can think on their feet and change it up a little bit. If you can tell they're not feeling you, start saying stuff that'll try to get them into you. Don't just keep following this dead script and then hoping that they chant your name. My God, that was horrible. But again, you can't go off script. You can't think for yourself, and you wind up looking like an idiot. And that's why so many people have such trouble getting over. And another thing that's really disappointing, it's like toward the end of her run on Raw, I talked about, and this is pre-pandemic, because she basically disappeared like right at the start of the pandemic. I was like, oh God, Becky Lynch has jumped the shark. And she was like doing that thing where she was dressing up like Elton John, in the 70s, with like wearing crowns and these giant fur coats. And it's like, man, she's trying too hard here, way too hard. And I was like, God, the pregnancy is going to be the best thing for her because it gives her a chance to reset. She was way overexposed. She was just doing too much. She was not as over as she was. And she was, and sending her out there doing that stupid stuff was just making it worse. And then she comes back and does the exact same stuff because now she's a heel, but now they're booking her like a face on Raw. And now it's like, we're just back to where we started in 2020 again. It's incredible. It's incredible. I cannot believe how cringy Becky Lynch has turned, and this is it. We're just going to be stuck with cringe Becky Lynch as a face. That's awesome. That's just great. So that was our first pick of the show. So Becky Lynch falling on her face. Raw also gets Bobby Lashley. They get Mr. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. This was one pick that actually surprised me. Damian Priest stays put on Raw. If I had money, I would have put it down on Damian Priest moving to SmackDown. I thought that was a slam dunk. I thought they were going to switch the belts, the mid-card belts, but no. Damian Priest stays on Raw. And they had this. Oh my God. They look. I mean, my teeth are straight and kind of nice, like they're nice-ish, but like, man, like they had this like everybody. If you're a face, you just have to smile. Like I'm on Raw. It's like he's like, my God, like get him Invisalign. His teeth are so janky. Oh my God. It's like, God, this guy looks like a dime store wrestler. Like he doesn't look like a superstar. I don't know. I mean, I don't like I like what he does, but there's just so many holes in that game. I'm giving it a shot. Like the matches with Sheamus were great, but now I'm wondering like who's he gonna face? I'm looking at this roster. I'm like, who's in the mid card? I mean, I guess it could be Finn Balor, and AJ Styles if they can get him away from the albatross, not the personal colossus, the personal albatross and Omos. Maybe those could be some feuds for him. I guess they're going to rush the hell out of Gable Stevenson or Gable Stevenson, excuse me. We'll see. AJ Styles and Omos also to Raw. Kevin I don't know why some tag teams are drafted together and some aren't. Like how is that possible? I guess it's like one of those things where Kofi Kingston earlier this year was coming out and saying to AJ Styles and Omos that they're not a registered tag team. Maybe they weren't registered tag teams. Kind of weird that they would be able to challenge for championships then. Kind of weird. Let's see. Going back to it. Kevin Owens. That was expected. Street Profits. That was expected once they moved Bianca Belair. That's Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. I am very excited about that pick because those guys are, superstar written all over both of them. Just super talented. Finn Balor. Hope the ropes can handle him, or he's coming to Raw very much diminished. Not only was he beaten like a drum just as regular Finn Balor, but he was also defeated as the Fiend, as the Demon. So Raw's got a little bit of a rehab project here, and we know how well they do with character development on this show. Karrion Kross, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Gable Steveson. Those were the night 2 picks for Raw. On the SmackDown side, and this was a super disappointing first pick for SmackDown. Super disappointing. The Usos, SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos were the number 1 pick for SmackDown. And look, I think they should be on SmackDown. I don't think they should be breaking the bloodline at all. But there was at least an interesting built-in story tonight of Roman Reigns had threatened Paul Heyman that if the Usos didn't wind up on SmackDown, that there was going to be trouble. Stretch it out a little bit. Maybe don't take the Usos in that first round, and at least have a segment with Paul Heyman sweating backstage and the Usos pacing and some kind of drama to this stupid draft. By the way, the presentation of all these things with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville standing at that podium is just balls horrible, just horrible. And they had feedback problems that open up the show, and it didn't get any better for the second round. That was just bad. Let's see. They also took Sasha Banks, so she doesn't have to dye her hair red. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs, are they a tag team? I guess they're an act. I don't like why Rick Boogs has to go with Shinsuke Nakamura, and Tegan Knox and Shotzi Blackheart are broken up. Don't get it. Sheamus, this one broke my heart. This one, there was two roster moves that were made that really broke my heart. Sheamus was one of them. Shayna Baszler was not one of them. Shayna Baszler was moving over to SmackDown, which is weird because they kept Nia Jax, I believe, stayed on Raw, if I remember correctly, if I can remember back through all this. Let me see. Jax. Yes. Yeah, Nia Jax winds up on Raw. So how are they going to pay off that angle where she snapped her arm? Xia Li. I don't know if she's bringing the 1,000-year-old lady with her, but I guess we're not going to have a payoff for that on NXT because guess what? We don't do payoffs of NXT angles on this show. So whatever she did in NXT, it's over. No more Tian Sha or whatever the name is. So no payoff. Cool. At least she's still got Boa. The Viking Raiders, a change of scenery would be great for those guys. Another great change of scenery would be for Ricochet. This one hurt me. Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. I love those two. I really do. They've only been a tag team for like 3 weeks, and they're over to SmackDown. So I actually think that change of scenery, they're actually, I think they're going to pick up. I think they're going to be a really, really, if they don't drop the ball, and not Carrillo and Garza, but if WWE Creative doesn't drop the ball, those guys are going to be phenomenal on this show. Phenomenal. I believe it. I believe in them. They're really damn good. Cesaro stays put, and man, what are they doing with Cesaro? Gosh, whatever. Ridge Holland from NXT, and Sami Zayn was the last person drafted. So overall, the updated rosters. This is what Raw looks like. WWE Champion Big E, Bianca Belair, Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro, Edge, Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash, the Women's Tag Team Champions, Keith Bearcat Lee, Rey and Dominic Mysterio, Austin Theory, Akira Tozawa, Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Gable are with us, Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, Doudrop, Drake Maverick, John Morrison, Nia Jax, 24/7 champion Reggie, R-Truth, T-Bar, so Mace and T-Bar were separated, which is fine. Hopefully T-Bar becomes Dominic Dijakovic again. That'd be really nice for him and for everybody else. Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, AJ Styles and Omos, Kevin Owens, The Street Profits, Finn Balor, Karrion Kross, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Gable Steveson. All right. Well, at least Big E's got some new people in the main event here. I mean, we still have Bobby Lashley on this show. Obviously, Brock Lesnar is a free agent, so there's that. I think a Big E versus Brock Lesnar match could be really cool if you do it. Or you can just do Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, because Bobby Lashley, after getting decisively beat by Big E and now having to be saddled with old Bill Goldberg and have one more match at Saudi Arabia with him, I think Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar could be a WrestleMania main event. I really do. Big E's also got Edge that he could face. He's got Seth Rollins. Let's see. He could do Finn Balor. He could. I don't see why not. AJ Styles is always, just one angle away from being back in the main event scene. Keith Bearcat Lee, if they treat him right. Karrion Kross, if they treat him right and stop dressing him in that whatever the hell they're dressing him in. I don't. Does anybody understand what that's supposed to be? Is it like it looks like I don't know. It looks like Aldo Montoya in 2021, but whatever. And the mid card, I guess Austin Theory is going to be, like they're going to be pushing him as a generic millennial heel, who's taking selfies with his opponents who are down. John Morrison just floating around, waiting for the Miz to come back. Kevin Owens is always there. Kevin Owens, Big E could be a good one. There's options here. It's not horrible. It's not like I thought last year's draft was just atrocious, and I kind of want to go over that in a little bit. After I'm going to do a quick review of this show because there's really nothing. There's nothing at all to talk about in this show. I already told you that from the opening segment on, it just got worse. I mean, the opening segment was horrible. I mean, horrible, just cringe-inducing. Becky Lynch just died a death out there with their scripted promo. Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair is like trying to get her catchphrases over, and Nashville was just asleep. They weren't excited to see her, which is weird because Tennessee is her home state. You would think they'd be excited to see, the pseudo hometown girl, even though she's from Knoxville. But whatever. They didn't wake up for that either. So that's how the night started and didn't get any better from there. Jeff Hardy versus Damian Priest was the first match that we saw, and this is what drove me really what drove me crazy on this show was, not just the number of awful talking segments, because we have that on every show. Every show has a horrible talking segment that's just like kill me now, and now that Seth Rollins is on Monday Night Raw, it's going to be unbearable, because Seth Rollins on SmackDown was getting cringe, and that's SmackDown with 2 hours, and they don't have to drag everything out. On this show, they have to drag everything out, and for whatever reason, they have deemed Seth Rollins as like, he's this incredible talker. We have to give him the microphone and let him fill up time because he can do it. That's going to be bad. That's going to be bad. Yes, essentially what Quentin Walters said. Hello, welcome to Wrestleview. I'm Mike Tedesco, and Raw sucked. Good night, everybody. Yes, it wasn't good. But, we have awful long talking segments on every single show. What killed me was on a 3-hour show, like, look, the draft stuff, yes, it had to be put in there, and we had to introduce some newer characters, I guess. They have to do that. But still, with 3 hours, you can introduce people. You can do video packages. You could have Kevin Owens come out and stun Akira Tozawa. They didn't really introduce too many people. I don't understand why every single match that they had to be rushed. It's like the wrestling was just such an afterthought tonight. Like, no, like I they probably were, but it just didn't feel that way. No one was really working super hard tonight because I'm assuming, number one, they don't want to get injured, before they start, this reboot of their brands again. But number two, like, they weren't given any time. So, like, what are you going to kill yourself for, 2 minutes of TV time? No way. So, like, this Jeff Hardy versus Damian Priest match was super short. I guess like this one had the most risks taken in it. Hardy did this dive up the apron, and Damian Priest moves, and he just crashed and burned on the floor. It was like classic Jeff Hardy, what did Doug Lack used to call him? Just because that's what he was doing. Damian Priest hits a somersault senton to the floor. Of course, he lands full flush on the floor with his bad back. And the finish, like most of the match took place during the commercial break. Then we come back, and Hardy hits a twist of fate, swanton, holds his back for a second, covers Priest, and then Priest rolls him over for a crucifix pin. Bender, thank you. Like, okay, like it was just like a finish out of nowhere. On to the next thing. It was like so dull. And then that's how they introduce Austin Theory. But I still think on a 3-hour show, you can give like this match time and then introduce Austin Theory, who comes out and he's like, oh, I love you, Jeff Hardy. I grew up watching you, and I want to take a selfie with you. So Jeff Hardy, of course, being, trademark WWE stupid face, takes a selfie with this moron What was that gear they gave him? Oh my, well, does everybody who gets called up from NXT have to get horrible gear? Like I saw somebody put on Twitter earlier tonight. It's like Austin Theory raided Jeff Jarrett's closet for his 2004 TNA wardrobe, because that's really what it looked like. It was just like so generic looking, and it was like, this whole character of like, taking selfies as soon as he beats up Jeff Hardy and then he takes a selfie with him and he's laughing. It's like, oh great, the generic heel who's a millennial. Perfect, excellent. That's gonna be fun. He already looks like a creative wrestler, so that'll get him far. He's gonna do great. He's gonna do great. If they can cut this stupid, selfie thing, the guy can go in the ring. He's a great talent. But I don't think that this is it. We shall see. More draft stuff. Dana Brooke apparently is still on the roster. Who knew? So she faces Shayna Baszler. I don't know why they can't break Dana Brooke's arm, but anyway, Doudrop came out to save her, and Doudrop's version of a save is to skip down to the ring because nothing's ever serious. Nobody ever, whatever. At least Dana Brooke's a face that has a friend, I guess. I mean, because that never happens. That literally never happens. Faces have no friends whatsoever. Doudrop comes out and just stares at Shayna Baszler, and then Shayna Baszler walks off, and then Shayna Baszler hits her, and Doudrop just looks at her. And it was a shit segment. It was just horrible. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it. That was a horrible segment. Okay. So yeah, good for Dana Brooke for not being that stupid of a face. Mustafa Ali and Mansoor versus Angel Garza and Alberto Carrillo. Extremely quick match. Garza and Carrillo pick up the win with some cheating. We have we have Big E comes out to the ring, and he calls out Drew McIntyre, Drew McIntyre came out last week at the end of Raw to challenge Big E. And of course, Drew McIntyre now gets drafted over to SmackDown. So we have to do this match really quickly. So Saudi Death Jam it is at Crown Jewel. He calls out Drew McIntyre to the ring, and Drew tries to get this line over in Nashville. He goes, "It's a Drew day." Yes, it is. And I think even if Nashville was a great crowd, I don't think that line was going over. That was that's WWE comedy for you. It's like, it sucks when they try really hard, because that's when things get bad. That's when the show gets bad. When the creative tries really hard to be perfect and they always miss. You didn't have to do that for Drew McIntyre. He's okay. He doesn't need that. But anyway, they go back and forth. Drew says, congratulates Big E on winning the title. It says he's happy that Big E has the title because he couldn't challenge for it while Bobby Lashley was holding it. So, I want a shot at the title, before I go to SmackDown. So Big E doesn't get to say anything because Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode come out, the Dirty Dogs. Ziggler cut a great promo here. And they did. This was probably the only thing that was actually really good on the show, was this. And so it was almost like so good that like I wish that they just gave it time to breathe. Dolph Ziggler comes out and says, you two are doing so great. You have great stories, your inspirations. Big E, I am so happy for you. You're the WWE champion, but who brought you in? And I was like, my God, yeah, that's right. Dolph Ziggler brought in Big E as his bodyguard at the end of 2012. And Big E had his first match. His first match on the WWE main roster was at WrestleMania 29 in a tag match with Dolph Ziggler versus Team Hell No. So Ziggler reminds him, I got you started here, and now look at you. And then he turns to Drew McIntyre and says, you have a great story too, and you were out of this company and you came back. And who brought you back? We were doing this show. Me and Victoria were doing Post-Raw when Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler were a tag team, and I completely and totally forgot about that. when they showed video of it, and they showed video of Ziggler with Big E, and they showed video of Ziggler with Drew McIntyre. Honest to God, no, like it came back to me then, but I before I had completely forgotten about that because I mean 2018 was one of a string of horrible years for this show, and by December, you had the McMahons coming out and saying we got to reset this show. I mean that's how bad the show was. So so he says, I'm a simple man, I'm a perfect gentleman, I just want a thank you. And really, like, nothing he said was incorrect. I get it. He's a heel, and he's kind of being cocky and saying that they rode his coattails, and like they shouldn't say thank you, but I mean they the faces were actually super mean to Dolph Ziggler, and I almost got into a Twitter argument with somebody who was saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're turning Drew McIntyre and Big E heel." And I said, no, they're obviously not turning these two heel. Big E is a heel? No way. Who's going to be the big face on this show? And Big E is still kind of an experiment at being like the face that carries this show, but we'll see. And he's like, this kid was insisting that they're turning heel because of how they acted in this segment. I go, no, this is WWE's version of comedy. This is what they think passes for comedy. Drew McIntyre calling himself Big D. It's a Drew day. Yes, it is. Making fun of Dolph Ziggler when the heel, of course, makes perfect points and the faces have no comeback. So that's what they do. That's not what that's not a heel. That's not a heel. That's not a heel, at least in the way WWE books in 2021. Maybe back in the day, that would be a heelish move, but no. I like, part of me thought, the kid's kind of right. That's why I didn't engage too much. Anyway, Ziggler cut a hell of a promo here, and it was like, no, it was not, Andrew. It was not. No, because he would have said that I have a hive mind mentality first, and the whole, whatever it is that he says, like whatever the catchphrases are. But I'm done with sports entertainment anyway, so whatever. Okay, so like the promo was so good that I actually kind of wanted to be an angle, and of course now because of this stupid brand split, it's over. It's just like that was it. That tonight is it for the Dirty Dogs versus Drew McIntyre and Big E. And Big E and Drew McIntyre, of course, decisively beat them, and they have to do that thing where they try to build tension between them, where Drew steals the win from Big E, which is like just classic paint by numbers feud, whatever, which I don't mind paint by numbers. I actually prefer paint by numbers sometimes compared to what they sometimes do. And it just leads to Big E saying that he'll give him a match at Crown Jewel. So that's that. Reggie does some stuff backstage, flipping around, running away from everybody. I think he's one of the longest reigning, or he might be the longest reigning WWE 24/7 champion now. I think he is. But the act's getting old. They keep looking at their TikTok and seeing, oh my God, 30 million views or whatever. It's like, oh, cool. That's totally why he should keep the title. Yeah. Because a couple kids thought it was cool to see a guy do a flip on TikTok, because trends last forever on TikTok. Because TikTok is really a great barometer for how to book your show, because it's TikTok. Anyway, so we get this. So the next thing up is Kevin Owens coming out to the ring with a microphone, and before he can even say a word, he's cut off by Akira Tozawa, who just eats a stunner. So that's Kevin Owens is on Raw. Happy to see him. It's a great acquisition for the show. Women's tag team titles on the line with Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley defending against Natalya and Tamina. Natalya and Tamina are an awful tag team, but they are a tag team, and that is like the one reason to keep them on TV, because the women's division needs tag teams. So what do they do with the women's division and tag teams? What do? Break them all up. That's what they did on Raw Talk just now. They broke them all up. No more Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Knox. No more, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose were broken up. Natalya and Tamina are now broken up. I mean, like, I don't like, are there any? There are none. There are none. There are no women's tag teams again. I think there's just one with Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash, and that's not even really a tag team. Can we please just drop these titles? Like, why do we need them? Like, seriously, why? Like, I see no value. I see no value. Anyway, so they had a awful match and it was over. And Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley are still the champions. So there's that. Goldberg comes out to the ring and he says he wants to. He says, "Oh, Bobby Lashley said it was unintentional. It was a misunderstanding what he did to my son. Well, I'm inviting you out to this ring so I can intentionally break your freaking neck." Bobby Lashley only comes out to the stage. He's dressed in a suit. He agrees to give Goldberg a match. Like, why? Like, what's in it? Literally, what is in it for Bobby Lashley? Why would the heel give Goldberg that match? Why? That makes no sense. And not only that, not only does the heel give him the match, but he gives Goldberg the exact match that he wants in a no-holds-barred match because Goldberg is, Goldberg's words, looking to kill Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley knows that Goldberg's really angry. He's mentioned killing him quite a few times. Arn Anderson is all about pulling out Glocks and killing people, on the other show. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Goldberg, who hung around a lot with Arn Anderson, might actually have the means and have the drive and the gumption, that itch to kill somebody. And then being in Saudi Arabia, where it's basically legal, if you're friends with the government, to kill, why would Bobby Lashley give that to him? That makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. But I guess if you're going to have a no-holds-barred match where you're essentially promoting that one guy is going to die, Saudi Arabia is the place to do it. I actually think that they should have a scaffold match over a pool of acid, so you jumpstart the cleanup process. I think that might be a great idea. We'll call it the Jamal Khashoggi Memorial Cup. Maybe that's what they can fight for. That'd be great. Anyway, I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. Bad choice of words. We have this tag team match with the New Day versus Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. Again, this was a 3.5-second match, but for the 3.5 seconds it lasted, it was actually a lot of fun. And there was this great spot. I mean, like, they were moving literally so fast. They were trying to get through this match so fast that Big E went to, Xavier Woods went to drop himself on the apron and he slipped and fell. Shelton Benjamin was running up because he was supposed to pull Xavier Woods off the apron or threaten to pull him off. So Kofi Kingston was going to dive off the steps and hit him with the stomp. So Woods fell, and Total Pros, they just keep doing their spot as if it's not like, oh, he fell and now what do we do with our choreographed dance? They just, kept going as if this is, like a real fight. I gave them kudos for that. I really, really like that. So that was a good save. Might not prevent them from getting on Botchamania, but it was a good save. And it was, a fun match. I would love for it to get more time. They did this thing earlier in the show where Randy Orton challenged Omos, and he was waiting for a response from Omos, I guess. Here's another thing I don't understand. Big E tells Drew McIntyre that, yes, I will give you a match for the title at Crown Jewel. And then the announcers go, "Ooh, let's see if it's made official." But Randy Orton can challenge Omos to a match, and now we just have to wait for Omos to give the go-ahead, and then the match is good. Like, why does that match not have to be made official? And this one, same show, but I guess a different writer handled that one, I suppose. Anyway, this was like this could be up there for like worst segment of the year, where I don't even know what they were doing. But apparently, like, Orton goaded like them into the ring so he could give Styles, who he's given an RKO to a million times, another RKO, and that was it. Horrible. I can't even explain. I cannot even explain what happened because it just made no sense. Then we finally get the main event, which was unbearable to listen to because Becky Lynch was on commentary and she was trying to be funny and it didn't work. It just did not work. So she was doing her thing and it was just obnoxious and annoying and it was like, wait, and then I was like, oh my god, is she a heel or is she a face? I have no idea. But anyway, when it was Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, that match ended by DQ. So Ron's, USA Network and Fox have to be even. So this match ended in DQ, and it was just like, okay, after 2.5 hours of watching all like this drivel, like you couldn't even just give like a good main event because again, this is another match that never got out of first gear, for me at least. And it was a totally shit finish. They sent out Sasha Banks as if like that was going to save the show, and she beat them up and was standing tall at the end of it. Sasha Banks, who is, by the way, not a Raw superstar. So that was the show, everybody, and it was as much fun as I made it sound. I suppose. Boy, I'm sick and tired of this. I'm just sick and tired of the brand split. All right. I thought it would be a fun idea to kind of go back and look at. Let me see if I can do this. Yes, I'm going to do it this way. So I have a version. Daniel, be quiet. I have this list of the 2020 WWE Draft. I just thought it'd be fun just to kind of look at the names that were on there and see how they did. So Drew McIntyre was, of course, the number 1 draft pick for Raw that year. He was the WWE champion at the time. How did Drew McIntyre fare following the 2020 draft? In my opinion, not that well. Really. Drew McIntyre was he remained champion for throughout the winter. They did some stuff with him and AJ Styles at TLC that I remember. He had a match against Goldberg that was pretty pointless at the Royal Rumble. And this is after Drew McIntyre recovered from COVID. He winds up losing the title to The Miz on a cash-in. That happened. And then then The Miz immediately lost the title to Bobby Lashley, and then Drew McIntyre just spent his time losing to Bobby Lashley. They had Drew McIntyre come out and with a sword and a kilt shortly after getting drafted to Raw, and they had him have a great feud with Sheamus. He had a great feud with Sheamus, but it was not for the title, and it never really amounts to anything. It was a great personal feud, but didn't really elevate Drew or Sheamus. Sheamus stayed in the exact spot he was before, and Drew just kind of hung around the main event scene, losing to Bobby Lashley. Eventually, they booked themselves in a corner where Drew McIntyre, if he loses this match, he can't challenge for the title again. And he lost the match, so he's just floating around. So now they have Drew. Now they turned Drew McIntyre into Storyteller Drew, which even though it was at the Thunderdome, you could tell that this is so bad that when crowds come back, they're not going to react to him at all. And that's exactly what happened. They dropped the storyteller gimmick. They tried to have him, they tried to rehab him with some feud with Jinder Mahal, and that didn't work. Now this is their latest rehab job. And this is the best job that they're doing so far, I think, with having him face Big E. So again, Drew McIntyre, a victim of the treatment. Bobby Lashley, he was the United States champion at the time. Bobby Lashley had a really good year on Raw. I think that guy had a really, really good year. Obviously, he was the champion for the majority of or a good portion of 2021. He's still in the main event scene. He's facing Goldberg at the Saudi Death Jam, and he's got he looks like a real legit star. I mean, whatever they wanted him to be in 2006 and 2007 when they had him and they never got him there, really, he became all that and then some. He just emerged when he got the title. The Hurt Business definitely helped him, but when he got the title and they started booking him like a serious guy, wow, he really turned it around. R-Truth, same exact spot. Literally, absolutely zero development with the R-Truth character. Same jokes, same shtick. I love Ron Killings. Keep doing what you're doing because he is still funny, but there's no change there. AJ Styles, severely diminished. I think he's better than his spot where he is. Yes, that was his entire 2021 so far. From the WWE Draft on, he was better than his spot. That's all I got to say about that. Fiend Bray Wyatt. Wow, what you talk about somebody getting the treatment, baby. Oh my God, did Bray Wyatt get the treatment from WWE? Oh my God, they did such a great job with our buddy the Fiend Bray Wyatt that he's no longer employed by the company. They diminished him so much with just overbooking the Fiend and killing it to the point where it's just not even a viable character anymore. Burning him alive, doing this pointless feud to Randy Orton. He's gone. So that was one of the top picks for Raw. I remember they made that. I remember last year's draft special. That was the first round pick was the Fiend. Randy Orton has he's been fun. It's been other than he was saddled again in that horrible Bray Wyatt feud, but now that he's with Riddle, it's kind of like giving him a real boost again. He had a good 2020 for the most part with feuding with Edge, feuding with Drew McIntyre in a great title exchange. And then the Fiend happened to kind of derailed him really. And it was at risk of like doing permanent damage. And they put him with Riddle and they kind of turned it around. They've just gone. So he is so far removed from that garbage with the Fiend. Good for him. Next up on the Raw list is good old Braun Strowman, Adam Scherr, who is no longer employed by the company. I have no clue why, because they put so much time and money into him, and I'm sure there's going to be some idiot that's like, well, they went as far as they could with him. Time to cut him. It's like, yeah, there are a million people on this roster they've gone as far as they can with, and they still have them. Braun Strowman was not the guy to cut, really. Matt Riddle, who now just goes by Riddle, he has emerged. He had one of the best Raw matches of the year last week with AJ Styles. This was a great move to have him come to Raw. The RK Bro thing, yes, the shtick with the hi, and I'm going to say really funny things. I'm just going to talk in riddles, and so it's like, okay, great. Jeff Hardy is next up on this list. Jeff Hardy spent a good amount of time being nothing. Really, Jeff Hardy had almost I can't think of any real contributions that Jeff Hardy had on the Raw roster. He was diminished almost to the point where, he was in the WWE 24/7 jobber pile at one point. And then they were then there was internet outrage, and I guess they were yeah, what are we doing? Why are we putting Jeff Hardy in there with Drew Gulak as a 24/7 jobber? We got to, so they got him back. He's still over, people were so I think Jeff Hardy was one of the most over people on this show tonight in his match against Damian Priest. When he hit that swanton, they really wanted to see that. Keith Lee. Wow. It's incredible how much they missed on Keith Lee. Really, just absolutely incredible. Really, really awful what they did with that guy. Yes, he got sick. I think he would have won the United States title at Elimination Chamber, but I don't think it was going to bring him into the stratosphere. I don't think that him getting the US title was going to get the same treatment that Sheamus eventually got when he had the title and stuff like that. And now Damian Priest. I don't think that his career was ready to take off, when he got sick with COVID and then had the side effects afterward. Because when they brought him back, the very first thing he did was lose to Bobby Lashley. Yes, he was the WWE champion at the time, but then the next week they have him tapping at the Karrion Kross. So Keith Lee was a total bust in the 2020-2021 draft period. It's terrible. Ricochet, he's in the exact same spot he was last year, and it's like he's going for a change of scenery. Hopefully something happens with that. Elias, they are repackaging him. They started a repackage for Elias because, like he's a one-act gimmick. It's like there's no depth there. He just comes out, like as soon as they had him stop doing the songs and interrupting him every single time he strummed a chord, they took away everything that made him unique and fun and funny. And it's like how much can you do the wrecking on the town every week gimmick? Like that had a shelf life. So I guess they're repackaging him, but all those vignettes dried up and now it's over. I don't know what the hell they're doing with Elias. He did go undrafted this year. Sheamus, well, because Elias is dead, and according to his tombstone, Elias is only 4 years old. Sheamus had a great. That was a great move for Raw. Sheamus really had a great year on Raw. Just the feud with Drew McIntyre, the United States title run, breaking his nose and having these great matches with Damian Priest and Jeff Hardy. Great year for Sheamus. Now he's on SmackDown. It's like, oh God, I really wanted to see this guy get one more shot at the title. Like not just like a shot at the title. I would like to see Sheamus actually get a run with the title, even if it's just for like a month as like a placeholder transition for whatever. He worked his ass off this year. He deserves it. I mean, like does anybody really deserve a prop? But I guess he really does. Excuse me. Let's see. Angel Garza did absolutely nothing throughout the entire year, and they just packaged him with his cousin because it's like, oh my God, they're related. We should put them in a tag team. So they just started taking off. It only took them 11 months since the last draft to get it going here. Same with Humberto Carrillo. So Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo did nothing. Drew Gulak, same exact spot he was. I mean, you think about how much work that Bryan Danielson put into trying to get Drew Gulak to be to like move out of like this or to get the WWE brass to realize how much value is in Drew Gulak. I still remember the Elimination Chamber match that they had. It was an excellent match. Bryan Danielson really worked his ass off and bumped his ass off for Drew Gulak, trying to get the WWE brass to believe in this guy. It's like he is a good character guy, but he's also great in the ring, and he's in the WWE 24/7 jobber pile. Like he's exactly where he was last year. No change whatsoever. This guy was going to the Thunderdome every week, and now he's flying into different towns every week to be part of the 24/7 jobber pile. Tucker, gone. Dabba-Kato is Commander Aziz, and it's arguable whether that has done anything for him. Titus O'Neil, I haven't seen that guy on TV in a gazillion years. Akira Tozawa, the exact same spot he was in from last year, he's in this year. No development. Riddick Moss is Madcap Moss now with Happy Corbin, so he's doing well. Arturo Ruas is gone, and Eric of the Viking Raiders is they're in the exact same spot. As for the women, Asuka, we haven't seen her in a while. Last I saw, she had a picture with her arm in a sling, but they completely and totally dropped the ball on Asuka, completely and totally, even before she's been taking this hiatus. Charlotte Flair, I don't like she by last year she had already accomplished pretty much everything that you could ever want as a female WWE superstar. So she's in the same spot she was in last year, which is just at the top. That has not changed. She's always been the most pushed. Naomi right now is in this storyline where she's trying to get a match on SmackDown. I guess this is eventually going to bring Sonya Deville out of her in-ring retirement. And like there are like some racist things at play here, and I'm not saying WWE's racist. No, I'm saying like that's the storyline. Like they're trying to bring in this thing, where like it's kind of like a social commentary. I feel where it's like, a lot of times, there's so much data on, like how people are perceived, women, especially like African American women in the workforce, like if they're vocal, women in the workforce period, not just African American women, but women in the workforce period. If you stand up for yourself and you make your voice known, then all of a sudden you're pushy, you're not a nice woman. And that's kind of like what this thing they're doing. I mean, like it's no coincidence that Sonya Deville, right before her, like the segment last week where she mentioned Naomi, was talking to her friend Karen on the phone. Pay attention to these things. Like this is actually a good storyline. So hopefully that gets Naomi moving, because Naomi last year was stuck in a horrible tag team with Lana. Alexa Bliss. I hope, Andrew, that Alexa's being repackaged. I hope that the destruction of the Lily doll ends this whole entire female fiend thing once and for all. No more. Lacey Evans, she was doing something with Ric Flair and then she got pregnant. So that's that. Nikki, and it was horrible, by the way, before she got pregnant. So that's the best thing for her. Nikki Cross is now a superhero. She got hot for 3 weeks, and now she's just existing as some idiot that runs around in a cape. Wow. Great. Goose, you missed a truly awful Raw. This was a horrible show. But Raw is set up in the draft. They actually moved some good parts around here. So Peyton Royce, gone. Lana, gone. Factions that were drafted to Raw, the New Day, obviously phenomenal. The Hurt Business, broke them up for whatever reason. Still unclear. Miz and Morrison, they broke up, and then as soon as they broke up, Miz went to Dancing with the Stars, and now, even though he's a heel, they are begging people to vote for him. They did this whole thing tonight about, oh, Miz danced on Dancing with the Stars tonight. You gotta vote for him. Support the WWE. It's like, okay, whatever keeps Miz off of TV, so I don't have to see that feud. Yes, I know Alexa's having sinus surgery. Yes, so not only do I hope they repackage her character, I hope they're apparently repackaging her sinuses as well. Indeed, Retribution, that didn't work out at all, and now the last remnants of that horrible faction, T-Bar and Mace, have been broken up, and I hope that Dominic Dijakovic gets released so he can just go somewhere else where he'll be treated better. Lucha House Party, that they did so well this year that Grand Metalik is asking for his release. So there you go. Goosey, this is the 2020 draft. I'm going over last year's draft to see how well they did, from last year. A lot of these people are gone. So I'll put up the results of the 2021 draft one more time. It's just a little retrospective of like what happened. As for women's tag teams, there was 2 of them. Only 2 for the longest time as well. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, they broke up, and they're pretty much they no advancement for them, none. Mandy Rose is on NXT, and Dana Brooke, I couldn't believe she was still on the roster. On the SmackDown side, Roman Reigns, obviously, he's the face of the company, superstar. Sami Zayn is having this fun conspiracy theory gimmick. I like all this stuff. Seth Rollins turned into the Drip King. Daniel Bryan's gone and off to way greener pastures for what he wants to do. Had one of the best matches against Kenny Omega that I've ever seen in years on American television. That was the one of the best. I think the Walter Ilya Dragunov match was really, really excellent. But Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega was just phenomenal. Just one of the best you'll ever see. Kevin Owens just did stuff. A lot of some of that stuff involved the Paul brothers, which is terrible. Jey Uso, he's main event Jey Uso for a reason. Big E became the WWE champion, so like these were all good moves. Aleister Black gone. He's in AEW now, doing way better, and they did nothing with him on SmackDown, so that was a wasted pick. Apollo Crews, they turned him around with this gimmick. Otis, they took away everything that made that guy great and fun and unique and lovable. And he's just a total waste. Murphy gone, Kalisto gone, Lars Sullivan gone. King Corbin actually has just really whatever they give this guy in the last couple of years, it's like he just takes it and runs with it. He was the king for a year and for like two or 3 years almost. I think it was almost 2 years because he won the King of the Ring right before Liliana was born. She's Liliana this time next week, Monday, October 11th. My little girl, who we made the announcement on this show that we were pregnant. You've been with us from day one. So she's like, our little girl is going to be 2 next week, which is just blows my mind. October 11th, Monday, she'll be 2. So there'll be no post-Raw next week. I highly doubt we'll be doing one. So don't be looking for it. But I cannot believe that. So he won King of the Ring around that time. He held that crown for about a year and a half, and then they took it off him. He did this great thing where he was, just down on his luck, Baron Corbin, scumbag Corbin, as Pat McAfee was saying, and then he got lucky, and now he's happy Corbin. And whatever they give this guy, he does well with. And Shorty G, who's with Otis, and they're doing something. So Bayley, she had all right until she got injured. Sasha Banks, no change there. They're all just hanging around the title. Bianca Belair, really, she took off as a superstar, and I part of me feels like they did drop the ball. Like that SummerSlam loss is really having long-lasting ramifications. I maybe some people don't see it. I don't know how the chat feels. Chat, tell me. Get involved in the conversation because I've been talking for an hour now. Is Bianca Belair damaged? I think so a little bit from that SummerSlam debacle. Carmella, the same spot. Natalya, she'll just always exist. I think it's some people like wrestling too much. She's one of them. Billie Kay gone. Tamina somehow still around, and Zelina Vega was there. Then she was gone. So when she was drafted last year, she was quickly gone soon after that, and now she's back. She was on SmackDown. Now she's back on Raw. The Street Profits, they had a decent year. No advancement for them, but they're just a great tag team. Cesaro Nakamura. Cesaro branched off on his own. Nakamura is doing great as the Intercontinental Champion. Rick Boogs. Ziggler and Robert Roode, exact same spot they were last time, just an enhancement tag team. And the Mysterios, Rey and Dominic, I guess they're gearing them up for eventual father-son feud. There you go. And the women's tag teams. There is one women's tag team on SmackDown, the Riot Squad, and Ruby Riott is gone, and Liv Morgan was drafted over to Raw tonight. Not in the draft pool, Becky Lynch, Jimmy Uso, Ivar, Sonya Deville, Edge, Jinder Mahal. Mo Durrell is gone. The Forgotten Son's gone. Bo Dallas gone. Big Show gone. John Cena not around anymore. Bill Goldberg still here. Ronda Rousey, The Undertaker is retired. So, yeah, that was that. Billy says it was not a good idea to do that loss so fast. Yeah, I agree. Andrew Elder says Bianca is a concern. I hope that they can rehab her. I really, really do. So that was 2020. SmackDown seemed to fare better than Raw did, really, in the long run, in terms of good characters, better storytelling. Raw's creative team. I mean, 3 hours. Look what it does. Look what those 3 hours does. I mean, people that were, doing okay are gone now. Like, I mean, like Bray Wyatt was not doing okay. I mean, he wasn't doing okay when they turned the lights red, a week before Liliana was born in 2019 in October at the Hell in a Cell. When they killed that gimmick, he was never right after that. Never. But Braun Strowman, there's like a few people on that list that were drafted high and not used again. So Raw's everybody's, like I keep saying it, Raw's creative is just really, it's more than just like, it's not just me, it's like the creative's so bad that they've actually deemed these people expendable and that we can cut them. So there you go. There you have it. So once again, looking at the Raw roster this year, yeah, I'm trying to get back to it. So we have Liv Morgan, Tegan Nox, Mia Yim, Tamina, Hurt Business, The Miz, Dana Brooke, Jackson Riker, Dirty Dogs, and Veer. Those were picked on Raw Talk. Night 2 saw Becky Lynch, Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, AJ Styles and Omos, Kevin Owens, The Street Profits, Finn Balor, Karrion Kross, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Gable Steveson, all get drafted over to Raw. And the full Raw roster from Friday also is Big E, Bianca Belair, RK Bro, Edge, Rhea Ripley and Nikki, Keith Bearcat Lee, The Mysterios, Austin Theory, Akira Tozawa, American Alpha Academy, Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, Doudrop, Drake Maverick, John Morrison, Nia Jax, Reggie, R-Truth, T-Bar, and Zelina Vega. Those are your draft picks for Raw. I have done enough talking, so I'm going to start putting a bow on this thing. Yeah, I kind of agree with you here, Randy. A hopeful thing from this draft is they want to make Veer a thing. I'd like to see that. I would too. Actually, in the limited stuff I've seen from Veer, the guy looks like he can go. So before I leave, I want to know, forget Raw. I'm going to speak on behalf of everybody and just give it a thumbs down because it was such a shit show. It was just horrible. How do you think the draft went? Do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down? I'm kind of curious. I'm going to give you a few seconds to get your votes in there. I'm trying to think of really, I mean, like, my thoughts on the draft overall, but the pieces that they moved, they're okay. I think Raw will at least have some refreshing, I think they'll have some refreshing matchups, but I'm just so over this presentation. I'm so over the brand split. Josh Batwell, who has no love lost for WWE. I don't think it's a secret that our beloved AEW recapper hates anything and everything WWE. He does admit Josh is a very, very fair reporter. When there's something good, he'll be the first one to tell you it was good. And I'm the same way. If something's good, I mean, I spent a whole show last week devoted to how good I thought that show was. Even though I know that we were going to probably get they were probably going to follow it up with nothing, and they did. I don't even remember where I was going with this. How about that? But he's not into WWE. Let's see. So down from Lewis for all these, thumbs down from Mashun Walls, major thumbs down for Quentin Walters, thumbs down the draft, nothing special. Bunch of thumbs down for Kevin Abreu, down for King of Huecamundo. Post-Raw, major thumbs up. Thank you very much. Thumbs down, I guess, but the draft would be the ultimate thumbs up. Oh, yeah. This is what I wanted to say about Josh. So Josh was asking, so Raw was in San Diego, and he just said, like, he messaged me on Twitter, and he goes, how did the crowd react to Rey? Because I said something about the crowd. And he goes, how did the crowd react to Rey Mysterio? And I go, well, he wasn't on the show because he's on SmackDown. And Josh just wrote back and he goes, the brand split is the stupidest thing on earth. And I'm like, it's so true. It's so true. Like, how do you not have Rey Mysterio in San Diego? Hello? It's crazy. And Andrew Elder is our Wrestleview historian. He's doing excellent work. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I'm sorry, Curvin Abreu. I called you Kevin. I'm sorry. King of Huecamundo is not like the NXT show. It's a huge crap show. That's what he was saying. All right. For tonight's show. I think Raw is going to fare pretty well. I'm hopeful for what I have to be. I have to be hopeful. I have to. I want to. By WrestleMania, we'll know how they're doing. So we'll see. We have a few months until that. I just hope that now that the draft has happened, that they don't go back to just horrible shows again. It's like just like the fall is just like such a dumping ground. Survivor Series is just like this thing where they essentially it's like, oh, the only time Raw and SmackDown collide. It's like, okay, well, we just switched everybody, so literally we're having the same matches that we had last month. So perfect. Daniel Shell, Raw to me was a -69. Yeah, Andrew, I hope that the show is good for you on December 6th. I would not hold my breath. I would not. So we'll see. But anyway, everybody, thanks for sticking with me. I did a lot of talking tonight. It's I was doing a solo show. I let Victoria sleep, and now I'm also going to go to sleep pretty soon as well. I hope you enjoyed my draft retrospect. It was just kind of off the cuff. I've just thought about it right before I came on the air. I was like, I'm kind of curious to see like what the 2020 draft looked like, compare it. And then I was like, oh my God, like how many people are gone? It's incredible. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, share it with a friend, get us known. And we appreciate you being here. I'm Mike Tedesco. We'll be back in 2 weeks with me and my wife, Victoria, who is the much more talented host of the show, talking all things Raw. So she'll have her thoughts, and I'm sure she'll have a Dancing with the Stars breakdown, especially if Miz gets eliminated next week. We'll see. Until then, I'm Mike Tedesco. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a good night.